Hello, Ents. We're back. Sorry we're late.
Late. It's not because we smoke weed all the time.
It's because we're trying to bring you quality content.
Did I get a new one?
So in celebration of being late, I know there are a couple clips I want to get. I just have to go download them and then export them into little audio files.
We should just put together a jingle. We need to put together a 420 jingle.
I would rather just do obscure movie references and see if people will get them.
There's too much content, too many movies.
Exactly. I'm only going to use my favorite. So, some stoner content. No one knows if Kim Jong Un is alive or dead, obviously. But
People know, but just not the whole world.
there are some interesting things. Kim Jong Un dead claims surge after North Korean leader's sister gets major promotion. This happened today. Kim Jong Un's sister has been the center of attention recently following reports her brother, the leader of North Korea, is dead or severely unwell. So there was a clip that the BBC had put together on this reporting. Let's take a look at that.
The reporting around the health of Kim Jong Un began in the middle of last week. CNN reported that he was in grave danger after surgery, according to a US official. One MSNBC anchor, Katie Turd, tweeted that NBC News had spoken to two US officials who said the North Korean leader was brain dead. She then deleted the tweet out of, she said, an abundance of caution. More broadly, the story has maintained momentum. At the weekend, readers of TMZ saw this. Kim Jong Un, reportedly dead, was the headline. So what can we say with any certainty here? Well, first of all, here's some good advice from AP's Jean H. Lee. She says, no, I do not know what's going on with Kim Jong Un. Very few people outside his circle do. While there is often a kernel of truth in rumours about North Korea, we need to wait for credible sourcing on any reports about his state of health. So what sourcing do we have? Well, in the case of NBC and CNN, both have long records of reliably sourced journalism, but we can't judge their sources in these cases as they're not named. In the case of TMZ, well, it references media outlets in China and Japan, but says explicitly it hasn't been able to confirm those reports. So let's look at all of the key questions. First of all, do we know that Kim Jong Un is dead? No, definitely not. Next, do we know that Kim Jong Un had heart surgery? Well, we know the South Korean-based website Daily NK has reported that that happened, but that was based on a single unnamed source. The South Korean government has even questioned whether the hospital named in that report would be able to carry out heart surgery.
I've never heard of Kim Jong-un's visit to Hyeongsan, and since Hyeongsan Medical Center is a regular health clinic, this is not a place for a medical procedure.
What about whether the North Korean media is behaving differently? It's not, says BBC Monitoring, which watches North Korean TV and websites. In fact, North Korean media is still publishing reports of Mr. Kim sending letters and other activities. What about whether there's anything different at all happening in North Korea? Well, here's that same spokesperson from the South Korean Unification Ministry.
There is nothing we can confirm on Chairman Kim Jong-un's health. But as the National Security Council Standing Committee has said, it confirmed there's no unusual movement in North Korea. That stance is still valid.
Next, let's look at the fact that we haven't seen or heard from Kim Jong-un and whether that could be significant. Well, the last time that we did see him pictured was in the state newspaper on April the 12th. He was attending a meeting of the Politburo the day before. We also know he missed high-profile events such as his grandfather Kim Il-sung's birth anniversary on the 15th of April and a 12th of April session of North Korea's parliament, which isn't really a parliament, but that's a different story. State media also failed to report a 14th of April weapons launch. That would normally dominate coverage had Kim been present. All of which may suggest something's amiss. But remember, this is a guy who back in 2019 didn't appear for 14 days and then reappeared with a cane, and we still don't know what happened then. And listen to this from Professor Robert Kelly.
North Korean leaders have actually done this kind of thing before. I think on the outside, we tend to sort of see that and say, oh my gosh, what's going on? And in part, that's because we just see so little about what is meaningful behavior inside North Korea from North Korean elites. But again, sort of when I mentioned before, so the idea of like trolling or sort of playing with us, North Korean leadership figures have missed events, and we've said, oh my gosh, well, they got exiled or they were, liquidated, and then they show up 3 or 4 weeks later. So if Kim were to pop back up in 2 weeks, that actually wouldn't be that or out of the ordinary for North Korea. This is sort of what they do. They just don't tell us a great deal, and they just don't care that we don't know.
You may have heard about the South Korean official who said Kim Jong Un was alive and well. Well, our Seoul correspondent, Laura Bicker, can help us with that one.
When it comes to the South Korean presidential advisor, Moon Chang-in, he has actually gone even further. He said that Kim Jong-un is alive and well and at his resort in Wonsan. However, it is worth noting that Moon Chang-in is not a member of the presidential team and he's not privy to any intelligence briefings.
Now, what about the rumour that Kim Jong-un was injured in a missile test? No evidence of that. Or that he's quarantined because a bodyguard has COVID-19. No evidence of that either. And then we need to look at the Chinese angle. Over the weekend, Reuters cited unnamed sources saying a team of Chinese doctors had travelled to North Korea to provide Kim with medical assistance. Now, Reuters is, of course, very reliable, but even if we could be certain of that story, that in itself only tells us so much. And if you want to know what the Chinese are saying publicly about all of this, well, here you go.
I want to say that I don't know the source of the information. I have nothing to offer in terms of the detailed question you asked.
Also want to show you this satellite image. It's been published by analysts at 38 North. It shows what analysts think is Kim Jong-un's personal train at a resort that we know he likes to visit. There's speculation that he could be either quarantining or recuperating there, but we don't know that that's happening. In fact, after all of this, do we even know that Kim Jong-un is poorly at all? We don't. And very few people would know that, even if he were, perhaps fewer than 10. We know he leads an unhealthy lifestyle, but so do lots of people who live to be a lot older than Kim Jong-un is at the moment. So how do we assess this? Well, here's Andrei Lankov, the director of the analysis firm, the Korea Risk Group.
I'm very skeptical about reports about his death, judging by behavior of the top North Korean officials. They are not acting as they would act had they known that he has died or is just about to die.
And then this is Chad O'Carroll, CEO of the same Korea Risk Group, saying, look, when Kim Jong-il died in 2011, there were over 2 days of silence before North Korean state media would tell the world about what happened. During that period of time, 1, state media continued as normal. 2, nothing unusual was detected on the ground in North Korea.
What? They didn't detect the 2 days of silence?
People who study North Korea every day aren't sure at the moment. And that's a very good guide for all of us unless better and clearer information emerge.
So he hasn't been seen since the 12th. But they said it's not unusual for him to disappear.
Yeah, I feel like do we see like the Queen, right? If she's not always there, do people freak out? Or it's just because everyone knows what she's doing because she's got an itinerary that everybody's like,
she lives in the castle or palace. I don't think she disappears for like how long has it been? It's the 12th, today's the 28th. 2 weeks? Is that 14 days?
It's a vacation. But even during
16 days?
How long? Like we couldn't see Boris Johnson because he was.
Yeah, but we all knew where he was. Like you can take a picture
I think maybe
of him.
It's because we just don't know. Like the guy said, the info's not out there, so there's just lots of room for speculation.
But I guess it's because he's missing. It's because he's missing notable events. If he was there, this wouldn't be news. But because he missed them, plus no one knows where he is.
That's why I think he's just recovering from heart surgery.
I know, but every day that goes by, the rumors only grow. All right, so here's our other 4 stories. Workers have to strike, man drinks bleach, Joe Biden, rape accusations cover up. Oh, is that this story? No, I should rename that story.
Let's call it the Trump Punch Challenge.
Story. Oh no, that's man drinks bleach.
I know. We can start a Trump. I can't think. Salad. Trump salad challenge. Just kidding. Nobody should drink
Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
bleach.
Dems don't criticize Dems.
Didn't they watch that movie where that person accidentally drank a cup of bleach?
Okay, so which story do you want to do next? Let me see. Which one has the longest clip? It would be Pelosi and AOC disagree on Biden.
I haven't seen that one or the strike.
Oh, actually,
That's
how long
who
is
you were
this?
looking at.
Where is that Bernie Sanders tweet? Nope, not that one. This
Your
one.
fans are going crazy.
I know. Thanks, Chrome.
Oh, because of your browser. Is your computer maxed out on RAM?
At the time, yeah.
Oh.
32 gigs. It's a decent amount of RAM. I guess maybe I should include the Okay, so this is the tweet that started it for me. Bernie Sanders tweeted 282 billion. That's by how much America's billionaires increased their wealth in less than a month, while over 22 million lost their jobs. This system of unfettered greed is morally obscene. It's time to put working families first, not billionaires. And he's quoting a Business Insider article that says American billionaires have become even richer since Donald Trump, but also just during 1 month during the pandemic when we see record-breaking unemployment numbers.
Record-breaking gains. And
yes. And somehow people are getting richer. And so...
The rich are getting richer. Not people, not everybody. Very
right. With the 1% are getting richer. And so in another article, it says, heads we win, tails you lose, how America's rich have turned pandemic into profit. Has 26 millions. This is a little more recent than the tweet. So now it's 26 millions lose their jobs. The billionaire class has added 308 billion to its wealth. Some of the richest people in the U.S. have been at the front of the queue as the government has handed out trillions of dollars to prop up an economy it shuttered amid the coronavirus pandemic. At the same time, the billionaire class has added 308 billion to its wealth in 4 weeks, even as a record 26 million people lost their jobs. According to a new report from the Institute for Policy Studies, a progressive think tank, between the 18th of March and 22nd of April, the wealth of America's plutocrats grew 10.5%. After the last recession, it took over 2 years for total billionaire wealth to get back to the levels they enjoyed in 2007.
Yeah,
probably about 26 million people went unemployed.
What kind of gains offers 10% in a month?
Well, what happened is the Fed just poured in literally trillions of dollars into the banks or the markets to protect liquidity. Anyway, so there's this woman.
So they increased increase the value of the assets and stuff, but they decrease the value of the poor people's dollar that they depend on every day.
So
Good job, guys. Good job.
This lady was on Jimmy Dore, and we were supposed to be a talk show, but until we can get guests like these, we'll just watch other shows. Jane McAlevey. I'm going to go with McAlevey. She's a union organizer, scholar, author, and political commentator. She has contributed to the New York Times, The Nation, Jacobin, In These Times, Catalyst, Politics and Society, Afternet, and other publications. In June 2019, University of California, Berkeley, Labor Center announced the appointment of McAlevey as Senior Policy Fellow. She was also named Strikes Correspondent for The Nation magazine. She's written 3 books about power and strategy and the essential role of workers' trade union in reversing income inequality and building a stronger democracy. No Shortcuts, Organizing for Power in the New Gilded Age, and Raising Expectations and Raising Hell. Her 3rd book, A Collective Bargain Unions, Organizing and the Fight for Democracy, was published by EcoPress in January 2020. She's also writing the 4th book, Striking Back, to be published by Verso Books in 2020. McAlevey has appeared on numerous television and radio shows as well as podcasts. So she's a writer on union organizing, and she's also a political commentator, but she was on the Jimmy Dore show talking about basically what needs to happen for the economics in this country to be corrected, because clearly it's very lopsided. So let's take a look at that clip.
It's very tilted, and so everything's going to slide. We're all going to...
So in order to build to like a 90% out strike, which is what we need a lot of in the United States right now, and by the way, not just a lot of them now, we need a serious amount of strikes before whatever the election is that's coming, after the election that's coming. Like, we're going to need a hell of a lot of strikes in this country. I think that when the pandemic calms down, like when it calms down, and healthcare workers in particular, who were asking to commit suicide, along with transit workers and grocery store workers, when this pandemic calms down, I think that you're going to see nurses and healthcare workers, hospital workers and nursing home workers, like burning tires in the streets in a pretty serious way, because what they have been asked and what they are doing is commensurate to a firefighter every day running into a burning building that they know is going to collapse on them, right? It's complete insanity. And I think we're going to need to have the already organized workers who are in unions, in good unions, leading the entire working class out on strike as soon as we can come back out again into the streets. No matter what,
real grassroots.
We're going to have to strike the crap out of this country.
Yeah, so she's saying we're going to need to strike. That's the only way we're going to see change. And the people who lead the strikes have to be the people who already lead the unions.
Yes,
and it's up
no
to,
astroturfing.
Right, and it's up to the non-union workers to participate.
Step up and understand why. What you don't have to agree with how unions are run now, but to be able to use them and that old infrastructure to ask and demand for something new that you understand that you need now.
Yeah, because the working class has no leverage in this economy unless they leave. Yeah, that's their only leverage.
The leverage is
they all have to leave together. So let's keep going with the clip because it's interesting.
2022, because there's nothing left. Like, they're taking every single thing away. And the electoral system is a mess. The Supreme Court's a mess. So where are we going to go? We're going to walk off the job. Like, that's pretty much the option that capitalism is leaving.
And so
workers in this.
And the pandemic.
And what demand do the workers make at that point?
I think the strike has to be for income supports. The strike has to be for a Green New Deal. The strike has to be, but the first leg of it, I think, is around demanding universal health care, because I think that it really resonates with people in a way it didn't 17 million layoffs ago.
Are you talking about coordinating different unions to go on strike to affect Medicare for all and then go on to our other demands? What are you saying?
We can make a simple list.
Yeah.
And is there any?
To be honest, again, the capacity is a little bit challenged, but two sets of workers have shown really high capacity to strike in the last decade against all odds, and that's been nurses and hospital workers and the teachers, right, the educators. And both of those largely female, largely women of color led professions, which I think is really fascinating in terms of the new labor movement that we're building out of the ashes of what we have. Most of them have a handful of assets that are different than the brothers from 100 years ago. Doesn't make them better, just makes them different, and it's really important right now, which is that they are tethered to their community in a different way. So they're not going off to a big factory, shutting the doors and building something that no one sees. They're actually working with their hands, their head, their heart, and they're working very closely, like fist and glove, with patients, families, students, and they engage the community in a way that we're desperate for in the U.S. labor movement. Like, we're desperate to like overcome basically a 80-year war on American workers, public relations war, and other forms of it. But there's been a really pronounced public relations war since Reagan, basically, right? Unions are horrible, unions are awful, unions are self-interested. The destruction of the image of the union is going to be best rebuilt by a bunch of registered nurses and hospital workers and technicians who've been hooking up people to ventilators, walking out on the streets when they can come out again and saying, hey, we in fact were on the front lines of the war that we were just thrown into, and now we have a demand. And the demand is we never want to face that situation again. We want universal health care, and we want it, damn it, now. I mean, the ruthlessness with which the corporate elite have revealed how absolute little they give a shit about ordinary workers in this crisis is, I think, unparalleled in my lifetime. Like, we've known it, but now you really see it. So I'm hoping that the parallel is that a whole lot more workers are going to say, it was sort of scary when I tried to form a union last time. They kind of threatened to fire me, but hey, now they're just killing me. So why not walk off the job, right? I mean, it's a different calculus when they're telling
fire you anyways.
You have to come to work, you get no sick leave in this country,
die or you
we're
get
not
fired.
going to give you any health care, and we're going to expect that you're going to die to come to work and deliver some food to someone. It's total insanity.
Yeah, they're like 26 million people just got unemployed. One of these people will replace
the accolades they're getting right now, and get some basic methods down and start walking off the job in serious numbers, we stand a chance at taking back control of the country.
Woohoo! Let's do it.
Yeah, the only way we can...
groups. They're going to shut down our internet, guys.
Correct. Yeah, the only way we can
platforms.
correct the country is if we go on strike. And it's the education unions and
it's the educators.
And the
community leaders.
What is that? Healthcare unions. They're going to lead us out of it. Be nice to the teachers and nurses.
Pied Pipers.
Wasn't that the guy that lured children?
Lured the rats out.
No, he came to the city or the town.
They didn't pay him. So he was supposed. He
was supposed to get paid to take all the rats
out,
and then they didn't pay him, so he took all the children
and hid him in a mountain.
Okay, well, with that segue, brilliant.
And he raised them to be leaders better than their cheap ass parents.
I guess let's go to Pelosi and AOC. They don't agree on Biden on the Tara Reade story. So I guess let's go over their reactions first, and then we'll go over the story. Let's go with AOC on Biden first.
Well, I don't think Trump would ever even bring this stuff up because
AOC, however, gave a very different response. She was asked about those allegations and how people should think about them, and she said it's legitimate to talk about them, which in and of itself takes courage. She also said silencing of all dissent is a form of gaslighting, which is so well said and so true, and what is exactly what is happening here with the Tara Reade story.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's being not only just silence. First, it was silence. Then, when Biden became the nominee and Bernie was out, there was a literal conspiracy of the Washington Post and the New York Times and all these other people working at the behest of the Biden campaign, basically holding off and they admit to writing the story exactly the way that they want, examining Tara Reade's allegation against not the headline of woman accuses Joe Biden of sexual assault.
Right.
Then their New York Times, the op-ed writers come out. Amanda Marcotte, who wrote that, Salon article, saying basically that this is a BS allegation, goes on Pod Save America, the former Obama people, advisors, and they all talk about how this is BS. I mean, again, this is a actual conspiracy in front of your very eyes in order to cover up what is happening here. That is gaslighting at the highest order, because it's not just silence, it's counter-programming of saying it's okay. What they want to do is give all of their viewers, listeners, supporters, etc., people who believed Christine Blasey Ford, the permission to say, I think Tara Reade is a liar.
Yeah.
By doing that, you are a hypocrite.
Christine Blasey Ford was the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh of a sexual assault in high school.
Yeah, when his job interview, and she was
For
just
the Supreme
like
Court,
giving
yeah.
him like a character
So
review, and
he was a Republican being accused, and they're saying all of these people who were Me Tooing him and saying, you know, you need to believe Christine Blasey Ford are now, they're just completely 180'd on Joe Biden and Tara Reade, where they're like, we don't know. And they're calling them out as hypocrites. And they're saying AOC is the only one who is calling it out as gaslighting because
like you can't use
the media,
one standard one way. And
but he's saying, Sagar is saying it even goes as far as it's a cover up by the media and the Democrats.
They're even ignoring. Well, the Democratic media, but I was like, the Republicans won't point it out because look who are on there. Like they don't want to give voice to that anyway. So it's technically the whole media.
Well, let's take a look at what Nancy Pelosi has to say about it. When she was asked about Joe
She's
Biden.
probably like, then we're going to talk about all of these character faults of all these dudes.
You've known
They're
Joe
all
Biden for
problems.
30-something years, right? So, I mean, what is your reaction to these allegations? Now there's two people who have said that he made them feel uncomfortable. Is it disqualifying, and what is your reaction to that?
I don't think it's disqualifying because I think disqualifying is with what your intention is. I do think this about communication in general, beyond this. I'm a member of the Straight Arm Club. I mean, I'm a straight armor and all of this. Just pretend you have a cold and I have a cold.
What?
Doesn't make sense.
But what I think that it's important for the Vice President and others to understand is it isn't what you intended, it's how it was received. And that's generally about communication in general. If people don't think they're being communicated with, even in your marriage, if your spouse doesn't think you're communicating, you ain't
She just thought she was having a gynecological exam,
spontaneous. I did that. So yeah, it's how it is received. So to say, I'm sorry that you were offended is not an apology. I'm sorry I invaded your space. Not, I'm sorry you were offended.
With the spontaneous gynec pap smear.
Next time wear some
That's
clothes.
not accepting the fact that people think differently about communication, whether it's a handshake, a hug. No, as you said, I know Joe
Finger
Biden.
up the ass.
My grandchildren love Joe Biden. I mean, he's an affectionate person to children, to senior citizens.
Jesus. Keep him away from your
to
kids
everyone.
then.
That's just the way he is, but that's just not the way. Join the Straight Arm Club with me if you will.
She likes to fist.
For example, my
Do you know who else was part of the Straight Arm
when they were
Club?
little,
Hitler.
Like 5 and 6, now they're more 10 and 11.
I know, I almost did the
They
arm
would
thing.
say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. That's the magic word.
What?
Because
And
he was
Biden
just
says,
so
open
lovely
Tara
to them
Reade.
and paid attention to them. But he doesn't understand, you know, he has to understand in the world that we're in now that people's space is important to them, and what's important is how they receive it.
She got tired of her mental gymnastics. She's like, join me in the Straight Arm
At
Club
least now
to
women can
open
say,
Joe
we can
Biden.
say, well, he's closer than 6 feet. They might get a fine. He was just giving you a hug.
And a spontaneous pap smear. That's so great.
That's spontaneous gynecological event. Just making sure everyone's healthy here. Everyone's healthy. Stay healthy, guys.
So this is an issue that I have, or this was an issue pointed out by Jimmy Dore that I realized that Democrats can't criticize Democrats. Like Bernie Sanders can't even criticize Joe Biden. And that was...
Well, I guess because they're also... The narrative is that they're so fractioned, that's why they don't win anything.
And Yeah, sure.
So maybe that's what their tactic is now. Stop yelling or criticizing each other. I don't know.
But the Republicans, I mean, at least, okay, so why I like Tucker Carlson is that he does criticize, he has a more objective opinion on Republicans than he's on Fox than like MSNBC has on
he's
on the Democrats.
Wait. He has talked more.
He has a more objective view. Yeah, he talks more objectively about Trump, and Trump listens to him when he has like.
Oh, like he'll openly say if something was.
Yeah, he'll openly criticize Trump, which is a big deal for him because if you say the wrong thing, it's not like it's a high stakes game when you criticize. Like I guess your establishment party. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so let's take a look. This is an interesting clip I saw on The Hill, and it's strangely it ties perfectly into why no one is criticizing Joe Biden about this accusation.
Your friendly neighborhood rising host has once again broken the unspoken rules of the ultra-woke left and am being brought up for cancellation charges on the grounds of guilt by association and faint praise. Allow me to explain. You may recall that Sagar and I did a couple of segments this week on Tucker Carlson's criticism of Trump's immigration order, a critique that has resonance on both the left and the right because of how Trump's approach privileged corporate influence over workers. Here are the comments that got me into trouble. Look, my view on immigration is not the same as Tucker Carlson's. Let's be clear about that. And I think there are legitimate reasons to criticize his approach in terms of a sort of nativist, xenophobe, all of that. But I also think you have to give him credit. Is there anyone on MSNBC who's critical of Democrats in the way that he's willing to be critical of this president?
Zero. No.
I mean, you have to give him credit for that, for being willing to dissent, which has real consequences, as we know, on a mainstream network, on a very highly rated show, one that the president watches and listens to. So it's very high stakes in that way. And I
makes
think
money
that,
and he's well connected. Is he not a
for all the
Swanson
problems
baby?
with Fox News, which there are many, and it is basically most hours like Republican cheerleading in the way that MSNBC is Democratic Party cheerleading. But I don't think there's any voice on MSNBC at this point that is nearly as independent-minded as he is. I know you must be horrified. Now, you'll note, I literally call Tucker a xenophobe and nativist in that clip right there. The thing I am praising him for is criticizing Donald Trump, something that liberals spend all day long wishing more Republicans would do. But I guess it only counts if it's from the right Republicans, because apparently the fact that I said anything, even vaguely favorable about Tucker, was apparently unacceptable by the ever-changing rules of cancellation. This person, for example, says, "Awesome how Ball treats fascism and racism like some type of minor policy difference that can just be hand-waved away, rather than a massive moral transgression that should result in social and political shunning." Now, I want you to really think about this. Social and political shunning. First of all, how stupid is it to say that if someone did bad things, you can never, ever say anything good about them, ever? Are we children? If Joe Biden did a good thing, am I banned from saying anything nice because he also enabled Iraq war slaughter and stands credibly accused of rape? And obviously, the total and utter lack of consistency in applying such a standard of shunning is blatantly obvious. Somehow, the resistance heroes over on MSNBC who helped lie us into war and justified atrocities, they are perfectly welcome in polite society. You're not going to take any Twitter heat for saying nice things about John Brennan or Bill Kristol or David Frum. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious. They're all on the right team now. And I guess that's the good news for the toxic canceled such as myself. At any moment, all my sins against wokeness will be absolved if I just bend the knee. Never has this been on greater display than when Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Joe Biden. Suddenly, she was no longer a Russian agent or useful idiot or Assad apologist or whatever. Instantly, she became a patriot and an American hero, a great leader who we should all emulate. This dynamic was similarly clear when Bernie bent the knee. Obama lavished praise on him. Joe couldn't say enough about his thought leadership, etc., etc. So don't worry, my friends. Though you may be exiled now, your homecoming reunion to respectability is just one capitulation away.
this really sums it up. There's an in-group.
Social and political shunning.
There's an in-group in the Democratic Party. I'm sure there's an in-group for both parties, but
Yes. That's why I never liked either.
These guys, I feel like, they're probably in the out group. If there's like an in-group on the left side of politics, they're probably not in it. I mean,
left side of U.S. politics.
Yes.
Left in the U.S. is very different than what.
I know, exactly. And so I think the left in the U.S., they are majorly not criticizing Biden. And let's take a look at what they have to say on
This is why people feel gaslit by our government.
Mm-hmm.
And rightly so. I would hope that they feel like that. It's the only way I think they would stop just going with the flow.
Yeah, so let's see what the left-leaning media has to say about Joe Biden and his rape allegation compared to Brett Kavanaugh, who was the Supreme Court Republican.
And now he's there forever?
Until he dies.
Oh, yeah.
The allegations of Tara Reade of sexual assault against Vice President Joe Biden. And yesterday we talked about this pretty unbelievable conversation between Ben Smith of the New York Times and Dean Baquet, who's of course executive editor of the New York Times, about the way that they handled this story. Now, of course, in comparison to Julie Swetnick, totally debunked and bogus allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, which took 1 day to write a story about. It took them 19 days to write a story about Tara Reade allegations, which are much more credible, whether you think it happened or not. But in terms of the hallmarks of credibility, they're there for Tara Reade.
Oh yeah, and this is the hypocrisy is what bothers me so much. Let's take a look at Michelle Goldberg. She's an opinion writer over at the New York Times. This is one of the champions of the Christine Blasey Ford testimony and all that. And look at what she does. What to do with Tara Reade's allegation against Joe Biden.
I just want to read this really quick. So this opinion writer, Michelle Goldberg, on Christine Blasey Ford's sacrifice, she says, her testimony was heroic. Will it be pointless? And then on the Tara Reade against Joe Biden accusation, she says, what to do with Tara Reade's allegation against Joe Biden? A sexual assault accusation against the presumptive Democratic nominee is being used to troll the hashtag #MeToo movement. Let's keep going with the clip.
What to do in there is being like, well, some people should examine the red flags and it's difficult.
It's
and
messy,
it's
blah, blah, blah.
Just say it.
Whereas with Christine Blasey Ford, throw it back up there.
Yeah.
She's heroic.
Yeah.
Okay?
Say it. Just say you don't believe her and you want to vote for Joe Biden because you think he's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, at least be honest about it.
Fine. You know what? That is a perfectly legitimate political position, which millions of people make all the time. But say it. But you can't pretend to be Michelle Goldberg is, one of these cheap champion Brooklyn feminists. And look, she's a hypocrite, just like everybody else.
When it comes down to
it, tell you.
Your principles mean nothing unless they mean something when it's hard.
Yeah, when it goes against what you want.
When it goes against when you're, if you have a set of principles, but they only apply when things are convenient, then you have no principles.
Yeah.
That's the reality here.
That's true. If your principles only apply when it's convenient, then you have no principles. You only have...
You have only shit to judge other people with. You refuse to judge yourself with it and make your corrections, but you're willing to make other people make those corrections because you don't like... It's... works personally too. Like self-reflection.
Anyways, so yeah, the Democrats won't criticize Democrats because it's not convenient to them. And so if you want to be in the in-group, don't criticize...
because it's a numbers game when it comes to winning that. Well, no, because even with the numbers, how do they... I don't know. I don't get it. Why would they... I just can't help. Why are they so against Bernie?
Because
Tulsi Gabbard.
I think what is it? Big Pharma and the private health insurance industry just has a lot of money in the Democratic Party.
Because I feel like what other kind of other people feel is that he's a sellout too.
Who?
Bernie.
Sure.
I have my negative whatever, but if he would have made it to the end, I would actually vote for him, and that's what.
I mean, I think
but I'm like, but
to get
they
that,
don't want my horse in the race for some. That's what I feel
Yeah.
like, because everybody else, I'm like, oh,
you know, that's what turned off a lot of young people in the Hillary for voting for Hillary, because they're like, my horse was cheated out of this race.
option. Yeah, like you guys just want that other dude to win, and I'm like, what? You think that's an okay option?
I know the problem here is that the
I feel like they want Trump.
Yeah,
They
they're
want
fine.
Trump
They're
over
fine with
Bernie.
either. They're fine with either Trump or Biden. They're not okay with Bernie.
Because they won't they're not gonna ruffle up that many.
They're like, Trump gave us everything we wanted. All right.
Oh, we're gonna have to pull like some kind of JFK shit if he gets.
What is
up
it?
there.
3 minutes. Happy 420, guys. We made it. Glockenspiel. And then applause.
Politics. I don't get it. Maybe that's why I never tried to read anything about it. So like.
You know, you just gotta be
Almost,
in the
like,
straight arm club. I'm a straight arm
that I'm like, wait, what? Like, or in their arguments. But maybe
Just
I
pretend we all have a
haven't
cold.
I don't think the girls had problems pretending we had colds. Or the kids.
man.
We're always telling the kids, bubble space, keep your hands to yourself. Stop poking each other in the eyes. Or in the buttholes.
What?
I had to teach my kids early on, like, don't touch the cat there.
Oh.
It's not like,
Yeah,
it's
'cause
not
the
like a
tail's up.
target.
Yeah, it's not a button. That's how
Andy
you-
doesn't have a tail, really, but his stub at least covers it. But the cats, they always walk around with it like
Yeah, they're so proud.
it's a target or something. So yeah, so I'm like, we learn from a little young age what's good space. No,
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, we understand body language earlier than we understand like written language. So her whole spiel about communication was just like, wait,
Where did that?
like she
thumbnail
lost
go?
me. I don't know what she was trying to argue. So we're always only meeting that Central Time. Do you think it means something? Is it time to move into that time zone?
No, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Dang, where did that screenshot go? Need to be better organized. Sorry, I'm looking for a screenshot for this other story. Did we do?
So the picture in the background, because I keep looking at all the different stars. I'm like, was it an actual thing or is it made up? Like,
No, that's an actual Hubble photo.
oh, so if you.
All right, I can't find it, but I'll just use. So a man drank bleach because our president kind of randomly.
Don't blame the president.
He randomly
He has all
threw-
authority, but has no responsibility. Come on.
Well, he did. He just threw out a suggestion, and some people took it literally. That's all I'm saying.
He's not a doctor.
All right, where is that?
Apparently, he doesn't even clean. Because how do you not know not to put bleach in your, like, have you had it on your hands?
This guy. Man drinks cleaning product because of advice he received. And
Did
so
he mix it? Oh.
in Topeka, Kansas,
Just pour some bleach.
Kansas
Peroxide, alcohol.
health officials
No, he was knocked out before he-
report an uptick in cleaning chemical cases, said Dr. Lee Norman, the secretary of the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, on Monday. Dr. Norman said he reached out to the head of Kansas Poison Control, who said there had been an increase of more than 40% in the cases including a fellow who over the weekend who drank a product because of the advice he received. So we're doing what we can to counter-message against that kind of remedy, says Dr. Norman. The increase comes after President Donald Trump made a comment last week suggesting that disinfectant could be injected to treat COVID-19. The day after making the comment, President Trump said he was being sarcastic. So let's take a look at the comment President Trump made first, just to kind of see what he said.
I can't
Right, and then
blame
I see
them.
the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that.
You can't blame the American people for what? Okay, well, first,
it's we have advertisements for medicines.
I'm
and
sure the
Americans
cleaning.
don't think that that's weird. Like they're.
But the cleaning
so
products
if
say
you
do not
suggest-
ingest. It says it on the bottle of like every single cleaning product.
And they're.
Anyway, so let's see Trump's response to that, because some people, he's kind of embarrassed by it, I guess.
Well, yeah, because people probably told him you can't say stuff like that as the president.
Yeah,
Like,
so
your
let's see.
People are hanging on your words.
So a reporter asks him,
Clarify your comments about injections of disinfectant. They're quite
No, I was asking a question sarcastically to reporters like you, just to see what would happen. Now, disinfectant for doing this, maybe on the hands, would work. And I was asking the question of the gentleman who was there yesterday, Bill, because when they say that something will last 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours, but if the sun is out or if they use disinfectant, it goes away in less than a minute. Did you hear about this yesterday? But I was asking a very sarcastic question to the reporters in the room about disinfectant on the inside. But it does kill it, and it would kill it on the hands, and that would make things much better. That was done in the form of a sarcastic question to the reporters. Okay.
You said you were being sarcastic, but some people may have misunderstood you. Do you want to just clarify?
Well, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would. Well, I think I did, but I wish they wouldn't. But I do think this. Yeah, I do think that disinfectant on the hands could have a very good effect. Now,
Just say don't
Bill is going back
drink
to check
bleach.
that in the laboratory. You know, it's an amazing laboratory, by the way.
inject.
It's amazing, the work they do. So
Anything.
he's going to check.
That's not from a
because
doctor.
a hard surface, this is a hard surface, I guess maybe depending on whose hand you're talking about, right? But this is a hard surface. And disinfectant, the disinfectant has an unbelievable,
Non-biological-
wipes it out. You know, you saw it.
Yeah, it wipes out
Sun
every living
and
thing in your
heat
body,
and
including
humidity,
you.
wipe it out. And this is from tests. They've been doing these tests for
Kills
a
cellular
number of months.
organisms. You are a
And
multicellular
the result,
organism.
so that I said, well, how do we do it inside the body or even outside the body with the hands? And disinfectant, I think would work. He thinks would work. But you use it when you're doing your hands. I guess that's one of the reasons they say wash your hands. But whether it's washing your hands or disinfectant on your hands, it's very good. So they're going to start looking at that. Okay.
But just to clarify that, sir, are you encouraging You're not encouraging Americans to.
No, of course,
inject-
no, of course. That was, interior-wise, it said sarcastically. It was put in the form of a question to a group of extraordinarily hostile
say,
people.
"Don't do it!"
Namely,
Tell
the fake
your
news media.
followers,
Okay.
don't
So-
inject yourself.
He will never say
Well,
he's
of
wrong.
course, all they had to do was see it was just, you know the way it was asked. I was looking at you.
Stuff that's meant
you know,
to kill.
I know.
So now the hospital workers have to deal with the protesters and the bleach drinkers.
I was being sarcastic. I asked it sarcastically.
All pretty much very staunch Trump supporters, I would say.
It's the new
Do you
excuse.
think the medical people... what's that thing where you don't take political sides? Yeah, most of them are Asian. Okay.
Remember when the previous owner of the Clippers, I think Don Sterling, was he called like Magic Johnson the N-word.
Is he black?
Magic Johnson?
No.
No, the owner, no. He's white. He's an old white guy. Imagine
so
if his.
He said it in a
I think someone
term
recorded
that
it.
was very derogatory. Yeah.
Yeah, he said the
it in
N-word.
the way only
He's like, don't bring those N-words to my game or something. I forget what the
Oh
context
yeah, that guy
was.
was known for being racist.
I know, but could you imagine? He was like, I was being sarcastic. I was saying it in a sarcastic way.
Oh, he doesn't. He owns it, I think.
No, I know, but
he's
it's like
racist.
that excuse. It's like it's such
Well,
a
'cause he gets
it's
yelled
such a
at.
global excuse. No, I'm saying it's a.
He was like, fine,
It works for anything. I'm saying, if you don't want to backtrack what you said, just be like, I was being sarcastic.
That's what
You took it the wrong way.
How does he say he's like all authority and then, but there's like absolutely takes no responsibility.
Yeah,
including
exactly.
That if you're all authoritative, that means every word you say counts. Like, does it not? And then now you're just saying it's
I am all authority until I can't help it.
until
I'm all authority, no
you
responsibility.
have to say you made a mistake or you have to correct it somehow. Who cares? You're not a doctor. Most people don't know. It's okay. Just clarify. Don't say sarcastic. Just be like, okay, let me clarify. Wow.
You know, I know.
What did
comments about
Yeah, she said
injection?
clarify your comment.
You see, it was just, you know.
You know what they have to ask him? They have to say, Mr. President, if you had to tell the beloved people who love you to drink bleach or not to drink bleach, what would you say? And he would have to say, do not drink
He would say, I was being sarcastic. All right. Is that it for today's show?
Really? Oh, yeah.
That's 5 stories.
about an
Workers
hour.
have to
1, 2,
strike.
3, 4, 5.
Man drinks bleach. Dems don't criticize Dems. No one knows about Kim Jong Un.
I say give him another
Month?
Yeah. Because what if he had a heart attack and like quadruple bypass surgery?
Oof.
And remove that stent. Maybe the stent got restenosis or whatever it's called. I can't say it in English. And then they had to go in and.
Well, good luck to him.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. And remember, if you don't have buds, we're your buds. Take care.